Hey guys, so today we're going to be covering another installation in my top 10 units list for Dragon Ball Legends. This is actually going to be the July 2023 edition. Even though this video is technically coming out on August 1st, this is still going to be encompassing the July meta. So I wanted to just preface that. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're watching this video down the road. This is for July 2023. And as usual, before we jump into the actual rankings, I just want to always mention the three, I guess, disclaimers before we jump into the actual rankings here. So number one, all characters are considered at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, max title boosts, etc., etc., etc. That's how I've experienced using each character, and basically once you hit God rank, at least in the JP meta, that's really what you're experiencing as well. Characters on their best setups, max stars, etc. Number two, I like to view this list as a top 10 meta snapshot ranking as opposed to just which characters are better than other characters. So, you know, number 5 on the list doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to be better than 6 through 10. Things could change out depending on the character releases we see in the future. And then finally, this list consists of rankings that are entirely of my own opinion, based off of my personal experience playing the game. A lot of you guys know that I play the game in Japan, so this is a list that's going to be based off of the Japanese ladder. You know, the teams that people are using on the Japanese server, the play style people have on the Japanese server. So all those things are going to be factored into these rankings. This past few weeks, I have actually been in North America, so I have had a chance to experience that meta as well. But just for the sake of consistency with the other lists I've done in the past, this list will also be based on my experience in the JP environment. So with that being said, let me know down below if you guys agree or disagree with any of the placements in the list. Let's go ahead and jump into number 10, and we will build our way up to the top from there. So number 10 on the list, I actually think you could have quite a number of different characters at number 10. There are about literally 10 characters you could potentially have at this spot on the list, I think. A lot of which are not on the list at all, but this is a very flexible spot here. I think there's a pretty sizable difference between the number 10 spot and then like 9 through 1, which is a little weird because it's never really been like that before. But I picked Orange Piccolo to be at number 10 on the list. Again, you know, you could have, again, like 10 other different characters on the number 10 spot as opposed to this character, but I like this character for a variety of different reasons, but the most prominent reason is because this character has a very high floor. And what I mean by that is you always know you're getting 3 important things that this character is bringing to the table pretty much every single match. Those 3 things being a heal for the team, support for the team, and a revive. I think in this meta specifically, with how easy it is for these characters to generate Rising Rushes, you know, Goku and Frieza, Ultra Vegito Blue, we have the purple Cell who's able to combo forever as well. It just has become a lot more relevant having characters that have access to revives, because they're not going to have their life endangered by Vegito Blue's, you know, anti-endurance ability with the Rising Rush, or Gogeta Blue's anti-endurance ability with the Rising Rush. And, you know, sometimes when you're using Goku and Frieza, the enemy has a Goku and Frieza, their anti-cover nullification effect when they switch to Frieza can sort of penetrate through your Goku and Frieza's thing. So just good old-fashioned revive is a good way to deter enemy Rising Rushes. I'm not going to go ahead and say this character is, like, utterly ridiculous or anything like that, because the answer is he's not. But I do view this character, I think, in a much more positive way than you know, the majority of most other players. From what I've seen across social media, from opinions that I've seen people have on this character, a lot of people really do not like this character. I myself wish he was a bit better than he is, but I still think he does bring a decent amount of value to his teams. And now that we have a pretty decent setup for Region, especially now with this new Cell being added to the game, is a very, very powerful character. I definitely think him on Regen next to like Kid Buu and Cell actually make a pretty good lineup here. And whenever we get more movies buffs moving forward, I think he will also continue to add value to that team as well. Again, with his very flexible mechanic list, right? And this is very similar to how Revival Gohan remained relevant for such a long period of time. He pretty much has the same exact set of abilities that he's bringing to the table as Revival Gohan, and those things I think will allow this character to age pretty well, because again, very, very high floor. You're always going to be getting those very valuable mechanics every single match. unless you just get completely shut out, which I guess is possible. But again, Orange Piccolo, I'm not saying he's like some god, right? And I really don't see an argument to have him higher on the list than number 10. Like, this is pretty much it for this character. Until he gets like some insane buff in the form of like a Zenkai, like another, even though he already does have access to a Zenkai ability, maybe like a character that works like extraordinarily well with him or something. This is really what we're looking at for this character. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he was kicked off the list in the next iteration of this list, but I feel comfortable with him being at number 10. I wouldn't put him higher than that. And I think there are a decent amount of characters that you could put in this place instead of Piccolo. So this is really where I'd have him here, but I do feel comfortable with him being at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 on the list is going to be Ultra Gogeta Blue. So it's funny because I remember making a comment, I think it was in the prior list before Vegito Blue released, before we knew what he was able to do. And I was saying, you know, if we really do get Ultra Vegito Blue as part of the anniversary, this character can jump way, way up on the list, which certainly was a possibility. I think I don't know if this was done on purpose or what, but they really designed Ultra Vegito Blue's kit to not match up particularly well in favor of like this. Like, so this character does not match up particularly well against Vegito Blue whatsoever. In fact, I think when you're using this character and the enemy's using Vegito Blue, you really often find yourself at a very, very disadvantageous position versus him most of the time. Doesn't kill Dragon Balls, doesn't kill cards when his gauge is filled up. Vegito is constantly drawing strike cards. Like, Vegito honestly is one of the better counters in the entire game to this Gogeta Blue, right? Which is not good for a character to be at a very disadvantageous spot versus Vegito Blue. It's not good. Not a good place. There's just a better purple character to put in the leader slot of every team now with Goku and Frieza. I mean, there's really no reason to use this guy in leader of any team right now. He's definitely not held up well in terms of his defensive abilities. He does have a pretty interesting mechanic. He's sort of like the first iteration of Goku and Frieza's ability, where he goes type neutral versus blue cards and ultimates. He's still a really, really powerful character past 60 counts. When the timer hits 120, he's able to grab a ton of extra mechanics. His green card becomes ridiculous. He himself becomes ridiculous. But again, I mentioned this with the new green Super Saiyan Gohan. 60 counts in this meta is like the fight is a lot of times just done at that point. When you have characters like Goku and Frieza and Vegito Blue who are farming. Honestly, I've seen people rush twice before 60 counts have elapsed. I've seen it. So it's just having these characters in this day and age taking that long to build up to their max potential. It's not really conducive to how the current meta is played. But, I still think this character has room to grow. It's just, I don't really see Fusion Warriors really getting a ton of buffs intermittently between like these big celebrations, which is when we usually see like ultra releases for this team. But maybe when movies get some help, this guy could potentially see a resurgence here. But, I can't really put this guy higher because there's better purples in the meta right now with Cell and Goku and Frieza. And he just, as a character to be used against the strong meta characters, especially Vegito Blue, who's like one of the most common characters to see, he does not perform that great. So, I mean, I have him at 9. He's still a powerful unit. His gauge is still going to work well against like the rest of the game besides Vegito Blue, but that's really all I can do for this character right now. So number 9 is Gogeta Blue. Let's move up to number 8. Number 8, we have Ultra Kid Buu here. Definitely a pretty big decrease in positions on the list as opposed to the prior list, where I think I had him at number 2. I think I had Goku and Frieza 1 and then this Kid Buu at number 2. So he goes from like 2 to 8 on this list. And I think most people can understand why the decline, I guess. We have Ultra Vegeta Blue now basically dominating the game next to Goku and Frieza. And of course, with him being the strongest red we've seen since like Zenkai Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, right? I just find it tough to really have this guy higher on the list. In fact, the fact that he's even this high at number 8, like that's pretty good considering that on his main team, there really isn't a great blue option, right? If Regen had like a really solid, like godly blue character, Like if there was an Android 17 equivalent for regen, this character would be significantly higher on my list. Because I think this character individually, kit-wise, what he's doing, what he's bringing to the table, is still comparable to the best characters in the game easily. It's just meta-wise right now, color-wise, it's tough to run him when Vegito Blue is in every single match and he's just so dominant. It's tough to really squeeze this character in. I'm sure, you know, in the right situation, even against Vegito Blue, he can look pretty good. And I wouldn't even say that it's probably even that rare to do that. But on average, it's not going to be a good matchup for this character with Vegito Blue in every match, I guess, right? There are a decent amount of purples right now in the meta. You know, Cell just got introduced, even though I think Cell indirectly does help this Boo by being on the same team as him. You know, this Boo would obviously perform well against Cell. He performs well against Goku and Frieza a lot of the time. So, you know, that's a good thing for this character, but Vegito is just too overbearing of a character, I think, right now. His presence in the meta, to have this character higher on the list, at least in my opinion. Again, if we do see like any kind of really powerful blue character introduced for regen, which is of course this character's main team, then I would have no problem moving him up the list. But as it stands right now, regen doesn't really have a strong tool to deal with Vegito, unless you're just going to out-muscle Vegito with like Cell right on your team, right? I mean, this character, Orange Piccolo, and Cell are the regen units that people are using right now, pretty much. Unless you leader slot somebody else, but... I mean, you could definitely have Cell like just bully Vegito out, and then you switch into this Kid Buu, and then, you know, you just sort of like manage your switches there. So this Kid Buu is like never going to be seeing Vegito toe to toe. That's like really the only way I could see this Kid Buu like getting value right now. But once regen does get a blue character, I think it's going to change things up a bit. But as it stands right now, Kid Buu number 8. You could even have him lower on the list, I think, and I really wouldn't complain about it. It's just not a great meta for him. So let's move on to number 7. Alrighty, number 7, we have Ultra Hit. Again, a character that has fallen a decent amount of spots off of, well, in comparison to the prior list that I released. Again, there's been a few meta shifts that have happened in between the lists. Remember, I didn't do a video with Vegito Blue release. I didn't do a video with Cell release. This is a list that's combining those two releases together. I just wasn't around to make that list with Vegito, so we're sort of making up ground here. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these big shifts, just because there were 2 major releases in between these lists, and I usually don't wait for 2 releases. I usually do it every single release, but this time I just didn't have time to. So that's why we're seeing such a big shift in the positions here as opposed to the prior list. But I mean, there's a few reasons why Hits has dropped a few spots here. Number 1, you know, Hit easily was the best red character in the game for a while, and now of course we have Vegito. And that sort of goes hand in hand with number 2, is just, you know, one of Hit's best teams was like sort of the future powerful opponent-y team, where you used him next to like Rose, right? And you could sort of leverage the future bench with like Mai and the Zenkai buffs and stuff like that. Now, why would you not just run Vegito Blue instead of Hit on future, and then you can grab all those extra, you know, future equipment? Like the future Gohan Pure Strike equip could really help the team out that way. Vegito's just a better character overall. I think Hit's time skip has probably lost a decent bit of value recently, right? With the addition of Vegito Blue, you see a lot less Kid Buus running around, but you see more Sword of Hope Trunkses, you see more Goku and Friezas, especially the Frieza side. Blue 17 is really powerful right now, so there's a lot of strong blue characters that really don't particularly care about this character's time skip, right? This character is not killing Sword of Hope Trunks with his time skip. This character is not killing 17 with his time skip. This character is not killing Frieza, you know, the Frieza side of Goku and Vegeta with his time skip. So a lot of the value you've seen historically from this Hit's time skip ability is just not there right now, and that really detracts a lot from this character's value in the meta. Again, this character could definitely make a resurgence. Depends on how many good yellows exist. Let's just say, you know, what's funny about this is, if regen gets a good blue character, which I was talking about, you know, with Kid Buu in the prior section, if regen gets a good blue character, that will bring Kid Buu back into the meta. So I actually think regen getting a blue character could help this Hit see more play. It's funny how that works, because then, you know, that you could use this character as a Kid Buu sniping character. But on the same note as that, like, then you would just use Vegito, right? So I don't know. This character, again, most of his value is coming from his time skip, because let's be real, other than his time skip, this character is not really doing anything particularly special. I think at this point, you know, he's definitely not able to withstand the onslaught of characters like Goku and Frieza and Vegito Blue. They're just too offensively overbearing, even with his healing and stuff like that. So this is where we're seeing Hit. He's still a very powerful character, I think, on like a pure Universe Reps team. You know, this Hit next to Goku and Frieza and 17, or you could even throw in like Revival UI Goku on there as well. Just a powerful team next to Kyoei as well, able to supply him with a bunch of green cards. You can really make some good plays with this Hit with the green card supply from Kyoei. And in the right hands, this guy can definitely still look pretty strong, right? You're able to skillfully land your free kill time skip, right? So yeah, this is Hit, number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Coming in at number 6, we have Zenkai Sword of Hope Trunks. And it's pretty funny because remember when this character was first announced to get his Zenkai Awakening, I actually was not a big fan of this decision. But definitely I see the appeal of this character now. I can only just imagine how nonsensical this meta would be if this character did not get his Zenkai Awakening. There would be like no check at all to Vegito, right? Vegito would just be running amok. I mean, he pretty much is already, but it would just be even worse, right? I think, like I mentioned, the biggest piece of value this character brings to the table is the fact that he's pretty much single-handedly able to cut off Vegito's combo, right? The most important part about Vegito Blue, Ultra Vegito Blue, is that first combo you start with him. Because that's like the most snowbally character we've ever seen in the history of this game, I think, is that Vegito. Like him and like Purple Broly back in the day are like the two most snowbally characters we've ever seen in this game's history or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like maybe the OG Vegito Blue too, like the blue one. But the combo potential is off the charts. This is one of the few characters in the game with his gauge, with his endurance, with his type advantage over Vegito that has enough of an edge over him that Vegito's not able to just instantly snap this character in half, right? And you can throw him on a team with like Goku and Frieza, which is what I did for my God rank grind this past season. Is my team consisted of my own Vegito Blue, because you pretty much need to run him, Goku and Frieza, and then this Trunks, which basically means that Vegito Blue's anti-endurance nullification Rising Rush actually does not kill this Trunks because Goku and Frieza remove that buff when they're on standby. So Trunks is able to survive Vegito Blue's rush. He gets his endurance proc, he gets his unique gauge proc, he's able to heal with his main ability, and boom, he's back up to like 80% HP. And Vegito has used his Rising Rush already. Then Trunks gets card draw speed, gets a ton of extra damage. His ultimate hits like a nuclear missile. So Trunks is actually pretty damn good. I think he's a good defensive character. He's a really good offensive character. Has a cover change. He's got a lot going for him, right? I think they did a good job with this character Zenkai. I don't think it's too good, but it's definitely much better than a lot of the other LF Zenkai characters we've seen this past year. Honestly, he's very, very solid. So meta-wise, he's in a good position. There's really aren't that many green characters right now to really worry about. I think green is probably going to be a character we see released pretty soon. I mean, we got Rose, we got Orange Piccolo. Like, what other green units exist? That new Super Saiyan Gohan, he's not really a threat to this Trunks. We'll see. We'll see what other green units that come out in the future. But as it stands right now, remember, this Trunks also did gain a pretty decently big buff from the Zenkai Awakening, which makes his ultimate type neutral when you only have one defeated ally, which basically means that if you have one defeated ally, this character is killing anything with his ult. Type neutral ult with his gauge filled up from this Trunks, like what is surviving that? Like Blue 17 is surviving. That's it. That's the only character that's surviving that. So, really strong unit. Number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Okay, moving up to number 5 on the list. So starting with the top 5, we have LF Purple Perfect Form Cell here, the newest release, the newest major release to the game. I will just say, I think you can probably interchange number 5 and number 4 on my list. You guys will see number 4 on my list. I would say you could probably interchange both of them. But the Cell is very, very impressive. When I first saw his details, they posted his details on the official website. And I did a breakdown video on him, and I looked at his kit, and he looked pretty good to me, but he definitely didn't look as good as he actually ended up turning out, right? And obviously that was due to just a bunch of different unknown factors that we couldn't really tell from just reading it on paper, like how long it took for his gauge to fill, right? How much damage his AoE actually did. But this character really has been, I think, designed exceptionally well. And the main reason why I really like the design of this character is because he's a ranged character that was designed correctly, right? Most teams in this game right now, we could even take a look at his tags, the Cell. Cell characters historically have had access to some of the widest variety of teams in the game, right? Androids, which is a real team, Regen, which is a real team, Powerful Opponent, which is a real team, and then Future, which is a team that gets buffed every like 3 months, right? So he's on 4 real legitimate teams. And the reason why it matters that this character was designed correctly as a ranged character is because Regen is strike-based, Future is strike-based, and Powerful Opponent is strike-based. However, Androids is blast-based, so he's on 3 strike teams and 1 blast team. This guy has more strike attack than blast attack, so you can build him one way or the other. You can build him strike based on those 3 teams, whereas you can build him blast based on androids, and he doesn't get any particularly, advantageous mechanics from just strictly being a blast unit. Like, he doesn't gain like extra blast damage or anything like that. He does gain a cost down effect for his blast cards, but that doesn't, I don't think, give him big of enough edge in terms of him being a range type character to warrant never building him strike based. So in terms of the design of this character, I think he was actually done really well. I think the death AoE effect is ridiculously strong. A lot of times it actually ends up giving you a free kill. And then on top of that, his combo potential while he's not dead is pretty insane, right? You can use his main ability to fill up his gauge, then you get an extra vanish back. You can, a lot of times what I like to do with these characters that have like timed unique gauges, and we'll talk about the gammas in a little bit, but Cell, what you can do with Cell is I think most of the time you probably want to utilize his gauge offensively, but if you're not able to use his gauge offensively, you can use it defensively as a second vanish. So you can like save his gauge, like when it's like a 1 count away from filling up, you can swap out and then swap back into him when you need an extra vanish gauge, right? Because you can time it, you have control over it most of the time. So yeah, that on top of the card draw speed, the cover nullification. I mean, he's just doing a lot. The AoE green card. I mean, talk about Regen with their AoE green cards. We have Kid Buu. We have this Cell. So just Androids has access to an AoE green card now. So yeah, this Cell has definitely impressed me a decent bit. His damage is ridiculous. His defense is not bad either. He has 70% reduced damage received, and his defensive stats are pretty damn high. Look at this, 198 and 196. So I don't particularly have any complaints about this character at all. I think they've done a really good job designing him. I think he's on a lot of teams that need help. And I look forward to seeing what they do for the future LF releases, because I think you can add this to the list of well-designed LF units this year. So Purple Cell, number 5. Let's move on to number 4. All right, moving on to number 4 on the list, we have Tag Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. I think I would consider this probably the most underrated character in the game. So last season I did my God rank grind with the Goku and Frieza future sort of Trunks and Vegito Blue team. And then once I got my God rank, I think the last day or day and a half of the season, I switched to androids. And I was using Gamma 1 and 2, 17, and Magenta was my team. And I won like 35 or 40 matches in a row, and I didn't lose a single one. And 17 and the Gammas, I mean, the Gammas, unprecedented levels, like the amount of damage this character is able to do with just like 1 blast card, it's pretty insane, man. It is pretty ridiculous. And the fact that they have cover nullification for multiple cards every time they tag in and out, the defensive utility in this character is ridiculous as well. They heal every single time they get hit for the first time they switch in or tag in. You have the healing with Blue 17. Blue 17 is reducing enemy special move and ultimate arts power. 17 is a deterrent to Vegito Blue, because that's the biggest issue with this character right now, is just the fact that they're yellow. It makes it, fairly difficult, I guess, to deter Vegito Blue's onslaught if you're a yellow character. But when you're a yellow character that has access to Blue 17 on your team, you're probably going to be looking pretty good on top of all the defensive abilities this character has. They're destroying Dragon Balls. They're going type neutral. I mean, I don't even want to mention their offense abilities against Vegito, because even though Vegito's a red character, featured boost, newly released summonable ultra character, really high stats, this character can tear Vegito Blue in half, like literally. I've seen it. I've done it before. This character on that Android setup, next to Blue 17, I mean, you get a combo started on Vegito Blue. They're going type neutral when they tag out. You just rapid fire blast cards and Vegito's dead. I mean, this character is actually able to tear through pretty much any character in the game. And if the match ends up going long enough to where this character is able to get their Core Breaker active, which is not that uncommon because, you know, Blue 17 allows your team to basically just survive forever. It makes it very tough for your opponent to win. The Core Breaker is just how they should have handled the Buu Saga, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta unit. You having control, basically, over when the Core Breaker activates makes it so much more powerful than that Buu Duo's standby mechanic or preparation mode mechanic, whatever you want to call it. What you can do with this character, and I've done this pretty much every time I've gotten the Core Breaker mechanic off, is I've waited until the gauge is like at like 1 millisecond left on it. Then you switch out, and then you can utilize it offensively or defensively. Again, this is very similar to the way that I like to use the Purple Cells unique gauge, which I just talked about in the prior section. You switch out right before it's about to, you know, expire, and then let's just say your opponent switches into like Goku and Frieza. Well, if they switch into Goku and Frieza in neutral, which means, you know, no one's comboing the other person, all you do is switch into this character and you win, because they just instantly die, right? You switch into this character while Goku and Frieza in the battlefield, you kill him instantly, right? Or if they start a combo on you, you can switch into the Gammas and end their combo and kill them. So there's not much you could do, right? I mean, you set the Gammas up with that Core Breaker mechanic and you just kill the opponent. Even if they catch you in a combo, they lose. Yeah, there's a lot going on for this character. I think one other thing to quickly mention about this unit, and this just expands or extends to the entire Android team in general, and that is the fact that most of the better units in the game right now, like 80 to 90%, have strike cover changes. And of course, the Android team is very heavily blast based, especially now with the addition of Cell, right, where you want to build some blast based on there. I mean, let's just go down the list. LF Cell. The new Cell has a strike cover change. Goku and Frieza strike cover change. Ultra Vegito Blue has a strike cover change. Zenkai Sword of Hope Trunks has a strike cover change. Orange Piccolo strike cover change. Ultra Kid Buu strike cover change. I mean, you just keep going down the list. Like, you just keep going forever. Ultra Rose strike cover change. Like, every character, pretty much, that is a character that you see prominently in PvP as a strike cover change. So even when the Gammas have exhausted their cover nullification after tagging in and out, you can just go with Blast most of the time, and there really aren't a ton of enemy teams that are being ran that can deal with just taking Blast Arts cards. Like, they just can't cover change on them. So that makes this character, I think, right now pretty good. So even with Vegito Blue being as dominant as he is, and this character being yellow, I think them being covered by Blue... Like, if Blue 17 didn't exist, then yeah, I'd have this character probably get a decent bit down the list here. But they're just so powerful, this character. Gamma 1 and 2, like, they're... 2 arts cards kills like anything. It's just ridiculous. So tag Gamma 1 and 2, I have them at number 4. Again, like I mentioned in the Cell section, you could put Cell higher than this character. The only reason I think I would do that, though, is because of Vegito Blue having such an advantage over this character, element wise. But I like to have it like this. I think the Gammas to me are a bit more impressive than Cell. So number 4, let's move on to number 3. This character will never go away. Never. He'll be here forever. He'll be on this list until 2025 or something. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. They just did too good of a job designing this character as a unit that will probably just never age or something. I mean, I saw this coming as soon as he was revealed. Right? I mean, they released his kit, and we knew what we were in for here. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this character because I've talked about him every single list since January. But I think now with the addition of Cell, you know, the basically perfect color wheel for this unit on androids, you're running a blue, purple, yellow team with Cell and the Gammas next to this character. There's a very strong argument for that being the single best team in the game, androids. This 17, the tag Gamma 1 and 2, and then the purple. I mean, you guys saw the list so far. I have this character number 3, I have the Gammas at number 4, and then I have Cell number 5. You have the 3rd, 4th, and 5th best character in the current metagame at slot number 3, 4, and 5 on the top 10 list. Like, it's probably the best team in the game. Probably. Right? Very least top 3 team in the game. But yeah, I mean, this character just providing all that he does to the team, double vanish, anti-cover, the support, the main locking, the rising rush control, even just the fact that he works as well as he does on Universe Reps still, right? You can run this character next to Vegito Blue if you want to. Of course, he works ridiculously well with Goku and Frieza. Pretty much any team you want to throw him on the leader slot for, he can work well as well. So it's just, you guys know how this works. I mean, he's just a ridiculous character. So Blue 17, number 3. And especially with how little green characters, like same thing I mentioned with sort of Trunks, right? Not a ton of green that's in the game right now that can really match up to this guy and really threaten him. So yeah, Blue L17, number 3. Let's move on to number 1 and 2, which I'm pretty sure you guys know what's coming. Number 2, we have LF Goku and Frieza, which of course then means that number 1 is going to be Ultra Vegito Blue, which we'll talk about in a second. I'll just tell you guys, if you are somebody that has Goku and Frieza number 1, I would have no argument. I would just say, okay, sure, right? I would actually say that this character is very different than Vegito Blue. Their roles are not similar. This is a character that is more intangible. They're providing more intangible benefits to your team than Vegito Blue is. Goku and Frieza is a character that is more so going to affect the fight from not even being switched in. Whereas Vegito Blue is, you switch into Vegito Blue and you just pummel the enemy into submission for 70 counts. Right? They're fulfilling completely different roles. So I don't even know like how to compare these two characters to each other. So I guess the only umbrella we can look at in terms of, which character is better in the current meta environment is who's providing more value in what they are doing. So I don't know. It's close, right? I mean, this character just existing on your team, existing on standby means you can't rush for the first, 80 counts or so. So it's tough to really get more valuable than that. Of course, they have a ton of tools at their disposal. The infinite amounts of ways they can restore their vanishing gauge, the Goku's ridiculous green card now, Frieza's ridiculous green card, the card draw speed, the type neutrality when the enemy uses blue cards and ultimates, which means they basically can't die, the card locking, which is now definitely one of my most hated mechanics for sure. You guys know this character works. They've been, in the game for a few months now, so I'm not going to go on a tirade about what they're able to do, but I'll have them at number 2 on my list. And I guess we'll talk about why I have Vegito at number 1 in a second, but Goku and Frieza number 2. Again, if you have them at number 1 and you have Vegito at number 2, I don't really have a major disagreement with that. I would say that that's completely valid because it depends how you look at it, right? Value-wise, this character can easily be argued to have more value in the game than Vegito right now. I don't really have an issue with people who think that way or say that. So, however, I have Goku Frieza number 2. Let's move on to Vegito Blue, who's going to be number 1. All right, so as I mentioned, Ultra Vegito Blue, I have him at number 1 on the list here. And I guess the only real thing to mention about this character is why do I have him on the list above Goku and Frieza? Once again, I'll reiterate, if you have Goku and Frieza on your list above this character, I don't really care. They're both deserving of being number 1, so it is what it is. I just feel that this character impacts the fight too much at the beginning. And the way the meta works right now, I feel like there's too much value placed on the first, 50 counts of every match, which this character is literally designed to dominate. I mentioned this before who even used the character when they introduced his mechanics and they released his kit on the official website. The fact that he removes Vanish on entry for the first time, basically giving him, at a lot of cases, it gives you a free combo with this character. That free combo that you get from his Vanish removal creates the snowball effect of this character. From that one instance of Vanish removal, I have seen enemy Vegito Blues. I've used my Vegito Blue to secure literally 25 to 30 count combos and getting Rising Rushes off of that one mechanic. I told you guys that was going to be something that people overlooked upon initial look at the character's kit. I mean, it's just so broken. You just remove the enemy Vanish when you switch in. Because the enemy doesn't know when you're going to switch, and a lot of times they don't have enough time to react to, if you're in close range and you switch to Vegito and you just go right away with a strike card, they're not going to be able to react in time to that. So, yeah, it snowballs the fight too hard, right? You starting that first combo with Vegito a lot of times ends up giving you a Rising Rush. A lot of times ends up just having you kill somebody. You know, pop an Endurance, remove a Revival, any of those things. It's just too strong, right? And even against like an enemy Goku and Frieza, you can go to your own, like the team I used last season, which was this Vegito next to Goku and Frieza and Sword of Hope Trunks. A lot of times I was able to farm a Rising Rush in the first combo with this character, and then I would just go to Goku and Frieza, go over to Frieza, and then rush. And like, sure, a lot of times all it would do was kill an Endurance, but I mean, a lot of times if you do that, you're so far ahead of your opponent at that point in the match that it's just really, really tough for the opponent to come back. And it's just a product of this character just, again, impacting the fight too much at the beginning. And it just puts you so far ahead that it's really tough for your opponent to keep up, because a lot of times what'll happen is, you know, if the opponent isn't using a character like Sword of Hope Trunks, a lot of times I saw people using characters like Blue Zamasu and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's in theory a nice option to deter this character's combos, but unless you're also running Goku and Frieza, they're just going to die to a rush, right? And even if they don't die to a rush, you can just switch to a different character and rush anyway. And again, I like to switch to Goku and Frieza, you know, maybe use a green card with Goku. A lot of times what would happen is you would combo for so long with this character that at some point you're bound to draw a green card, and then you just feed it to Goku and Frieza. You feed it to the Goku side, and then you can use that Goku double card draw speed effect from the green card to lock in your opponent, and then switch over to Frieza, and then you just rush with Frieza, and the enemy can't go to their Goku and Frieza, right? So, yeah, it just, again, this character's ability to just snowball the fight so hard at the beginning, I think, at least in my opinion, puts him slightly ahead of Goku and Frieza. But again, like I mentioned in the Goku and Frieza section previously, this character has a completely different role and objective than Goku and Frieza do in terms of what they are providing to you in the match. So it's tough to really compare both characters, but they're both providing almost unprecedented amounts of value in their own regard. So again, if you want to have this character at 1, you want to have Goku and Frieza at 1, I really don't care either way. But at least in my perspective, in my opinion, this character is helping you win matches more often, slightly more often than Goku and Frieza do, which is why I have him at number 1 on the list. So just to reiterate the list here, let me pull it up and we'll go through. So number 10, I had LF Orange Piccolo. Number 9, we have Ultra Gogeta Blue. Number 8, we have Ultra Kid Buu. Number 7, we have Ultra Hit. Number 6, Zenkai LF Sword of Hope Trunks. Number 5, we have LF Purple Perfect Form Cell. Number 4, we have LF Tag Gamma 1 and 2. Number 3, we have LF Android 17. Number 2, we have Tag Goku and Frieza. And then number 1, of course, we have Ultra Vegito Blue. Let me know down below which spots on the list you disagree with, because I definitely think there will be a ton of people who disagree with a lot of stuff on the list. I think my most controversial spot on this list is definitely going to be the Gamma 1 and 2 being at 4. Again, I actually do consider them to be the most underrated character in the game right now. Something else I do want to mention as well is I know this is going to come up. I know it's going to come up, so I'll just mention it now. I do not have Purple UI Goku on this list. And I don't typically talk about characters that didn't make the list, but I know for sure that people are going to be like, oh my god, how do you not have Purple UI Goku on this list? I don't really know the reason for this, but like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I am basing this list off of the Japanese meta, because that's what I've based the past literally year of lists off of, and I want to maintain consistency with that. But when I was in North America playing the game, Purple UI Goku was everywhere, man. You fought him like every other match. Over here, you never fight him. He's nowhere. You never see him, ever. No one runs him, right? So that is a very mysterious difference that I actually don't understand why that's happened. Why is there like a giant bifurcation in terms of one meta using Purple UI Goku so often, and then one meta not using him at all? I don't really understand it, but that's the reason why he's not on the list, is just because he's non-existent here, right? I don't think he's a bad character, but in terms of the meta here, in terms of my experience playing against, you know, the meta characters, I just have not played him here. I haven't used him either, because I just don't feel the need to. So I just wanted to mention that, because I know people are going to bring that up, because he's such a popular character in North America, which is obviously where most of my audience is. So that's why I'm bringing it up here. But other than that, anything else you guys want to let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.